Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with a review of the Samsung Galaxy A36, which is sort of like a Galaxy A56 Lite. They have changed the camera design, but the cameras are the same as the predecessors. The good news is that we're getting a Snapdragon processor instead of an Exynos this time around, and also the screen is slightly bigger, while the bezels are, I would say, a bit narrower, but still pretty big for today's standards. We're also getting a lot of AI and a very fast price drop from 400 euros to 300 euros in Europe. So let's get going. So first of all, you can see something new design-wise on the Galaxy A36 if you look at the back side. The camera module here is shaped like a pill, reminding me of the Galaxy Z Fold series. The phone has increased in length a bit and the screen climbs from 6.6 inches on the predecessor to 6.7 inches here. Now it's also 162.9 millimeters in thickness, length, as well as 78.2 millimeters in width, and measures 7.4 millimeters in thickness, which is quite the drop when you compare it to the 8.2 millimeters of the Galaxy A35, so quite skinnier. I should also mention that it keeps the certification IP67, even though nowadays many mid-range phones even have IP69 and can take water jets and extreme temperatures and humidity. So we have here Gorilla Glass Victus Plus protection for the glass at the back, glass at the front, and there's a plastic frame in between. Now the Galaxy A36, sadly we have it in black, but it comes in violet, white and green lime. I would say if you have a small hand, it's not very easy to wield, but courtesy of the flat frame, you can have proper grip. The weight is 195 grams and you can actually feel it because of the glass, but it's still a premium feel here, even though you don't have metal. Okay, so I should probably also mention the bezels. They're quite thick by today's standards, but just a bit slimmer compared to the predecessors. We have a screen to body ratio of 86.5%. The predecessor had 84.8%. Yes, it draws quite a few fingerprints on the back side in case you're wondering. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, this panel here has increased. It's a 6.7-inch AMOLED instead of the 6.6-inch AMOLED of the predecessor, and I'm going to put it to the test right now. Of course, it's an AMOLED panel, so you're getting a lot of quality here. I should probably mention it's Full HD Plus resolution, 120 Hz refresh rate, always on display, Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. There's no HDR video and there's also no LTPO, sadly. So we have bright and vivid colors, excellent brightness, immersive experience, wide view angles and excellent contrast even in full sunlight. Deep blacks and pure whites, and now it's time to see how we did with the brightness test. Okay, so with our lux meter we achieved 832 lux units, which is an upgrade if you look at the Galaxy A35, which had 702 lux. We're above the OnePlus Nord 4, even above the S23 Ultra by just a little bit. Still, we're also brighter than the Galaxy A54, and we're on the 77th spot from the 640 phones we've tested. So I would say this is quite impressive. Now, as far as the screen options are concerned, you should have a shortcut here, but that's not available unless you do this. So in the display section, you can find the brightness, adaptive brightness, the motion smoothness, eye comfort shield. There's also these options for the colors, vivid, natural and white balance. Now, since the screen is so excellent, it's time to move further and see what processor we have here. Okay, so let's open up the IDA app and see what's happening here. So CPU. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, one we have expected an Exynos inside, so that's good news always. It's an octa-core 4nm chip with the Adreno 710 GPU. Okay, so first things first, we did a CPU throttling test, and before that I should mention the other resources. 6 gigs of RAM, sadly, we would have liked 8, and 128 gigabytes of storage. Now, as far as the performance results are concerned, this is the CPU throttling test. We lost 18% performance after 15 minutes, which is actually not that bad. And the temperature after this benchmark was around 38.9 degrees Celsius. So no definite overheating. Now, back to our usual suspects. As you can see in Antutu 10, we surpassed the recently launched Oppo Reno 13F and Huawei Nova 13 Pro with similar prices and similar standings. So I would say not bad. We also surpassed the Honor Magic 7 Lite, Galaxy A35, so 770 spot. But let's see which models were below. We're just below the Motorola Edge 50 Fusion, Realme 12 Pro Plus and Motorola Edge 50 Neo. Now, when it comes to the Geekbench 6, were placed above the Galaxy A54 in the single core, and in the multi-core we surpassed Galaxy A35, Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G, which is actually not bad, but we were below, let's see, the Motorola G75, which is not exactly a powerhouse, and the Edge 50 and 60 Fusion. When it comes to the 3D benchmarks, we're above older phones, which is to be expected. It's still a mid-range device, so yeah. I would say that in the AI performance tests, we're at about 1/3 of what a Snapdragon 8 Elite processor would offer. And here's also the Vulkan, above A55, above A35. We're basically in the range of the higher level predecessors, but slightly above them. Now, when it comes to the temperature, once again, I'll show you some results here. So in benchmarks, 38.9 degrees Celsius, and in games, 35.8. So definitely no overheating. The battery has pretty much stays the same as the predecessor, 5000 mAh, but with faster charge from 25 watts, skipping to 45 watts. These are the results we achieved. Quite impressive, I would say. When it comes to the video playback, 23 hours and 47 minutes, just above the Honor 200 Pro and the Nothing Phone 2A, which is not a bad company. We also surpassed the Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. Believe it or not, we even surpassed the new Galaxy A56, which has 23 hours and change. So yeah, 50th spot, not bad at all. When it comes to continuous usage, once again impressive, 14 hours and 33 minutes. I mean, it's not a record, but it's still quite impressive. It even beats a flagship like the Honor Magic 7 Pro. We're doing better than the Pixel 8 Pro XL, and from the mid-range area we surpassed Honor Magic 5 Lite, but we got surpassed by a few Realme and Honor Magic phones. You can see some of them here. You can see that Realme 14 Pro is higher, Xiaomi 15 is higher, Realme 14 Pro Plus is higher, Oppo Reno 13F, so yeah, you can definitely do better. Now the charging, 1 hour and 12 minutes, definitely not fast, and after 30 minutes you're at 58%, not a record, and actually expected more from the 45 watt charge we have here. So yeah, there's that. Now, as far as the acoustics are concerned, there's a stereo setup here, bottom speaker and the earpiece here. There's no audio jack, even though I feel there would have been room for it, at least at the top side. Now let's listen to an acoustic sample and see what these speakers can do. I would say plenty of bass, sufficient volume, and no distortion. Pretty nice treble and voice, nothing to object about, and I'm actually shocked by how powerful the top speaker is, which can actually be confirmed from these volume tests. So we achieved 89.7 decibels with the top speaker, one of the most powerful top speakers I've seen recently, and quite an amazing result. And the bottom one, 87, pretty well balanced, I would have to say. So once again, the top speaker is only defeated by the Oppo Find X2 from many years ago. It's the equal of the Huawei Nova 13 Pro, and among mid-rangers it's one of the most potent speakers I've seen recently, and actually I'm pretty shocked that there's no distortion here. When it comes to the multimedia, 95.3 decibels, it's not bad, not a record also, but not bad. So 95.3 decibels, let's see which models we surpassed. I see that we surpassed some Asus ROG Phone 6 Pro from years ago, Galaxy Z Fold 3, and a more recent set of models. Let's see here, Motorola Edge 50 has been surpassed, as well as the Galaxy Z Flip 6, Honor Magic 4 Lite, and Motorola Edge 50 Pro. There are higher placed models here, as you can see for yourself, like the Poco M4 Pro, Motorola Edge 30 Neo, or the Honor Magic 7 Lite from the same mid-range department. And now let's talk about the cameras. So first things first, nothing has changed hardware-wise as far as we know. So what does change a bit is the selfie camera. So from a 13 megapixel selfie camera on the A35, the A36 has a new 12 megapixel selfie camera. Still keeps the 4K filming, while at the backside the story is exactly the same as before. Now let's see what we got here. So a main 50 megapixel camera with OIS, an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, and finally 5 megapixel macro camera. 4K 30 frames per second here as well. If you're entering the camera interface, you're going to see familiar options: food, slow motion, night, super slow-mo, pro video, macro, single take, pro panorama, and hyperlapse. This is the video area. where you also have a dedicated super steady option. This is the photo department, where there are options put here by the One UI 7, which people may find a bit confusing. You can take full resolution shots of 50 megapixels. You can also take portraits here with a bunch of options, even though we don't have the cool filters that we have on the Galaxy S series. And this is the fun area when you can apply a bunch of masks which require online connection to properly work. Okay, so that's about it. There's also AI here, just so you know, which I'll discuss in the software segment. Okay, so let's get to the gallery here. We have quite a few photos, 183 no less, and I'm going to start with the selfie camera. Okay, so the updated selfie camera compared to last year definitely delivers on some excellent portrait shots, cutting out the background behind the subject in an excellent manner and highlighting the facial texture, particularly the hair, I would say. Also expressive eyes and lots of details here, even though the camera resolution isn't that bad. Now, these are daytime selfies, and once again, they're not half bad texture-wise, but the lower light selfies are definitely underwhelming, even compared to other mid-range handsets out there. During the daytime, you can definitely get some Instagram-worthy shots, even without the portrait mode on. There's a sort of perspective that's highlighted here, even without a portrait, which pushes the subject to the forefront. Okay, so these have been the selfie shots. Let's see some, I would say, regular shots taken during the day. Okay, so plenty of colors, and I would say pretty well calibrated colors, nothing to complain about here, even on the ultra wide, which does decrease the level of detail on the sides, as it usually happens here. I would say the realistic colors, there is no oversaturation, and of course zoom, it's only decent at up to 2x, because we don't have a telephoto camera, so yeah, there's that. Plenty of hues of green. There's no oversaturation, and the HDR does a fine job, particularly on the main camera. On the ultra wide, there are some areas left in the dark, which kind of spoil the fun. Okay, so now when it comes to the close-ups and the macros, you have to definitely take a few attempts to get a proper one, but when you do, you'll be quite satisfied with the result. Like this example here, a pretty decent close-up. Or this one here. We also took some zoom shots, and even though they may look impressive on the small screen, anything above 3x feels a bit, well, not so detailed. These are some other shots. Scenario in a park nearby. Once again, pretty decent colors, but it was a pretty cloudy day, so it may have messed with the final result. And we get even closer this time with macros. After a few attempts, you should be happy with the result, even though some of them are pretty moved and ghostly. Even though there was no wind here, it may take a while before getting the ideal proper shot. And of course, the lower resolution of the macro camera definitely doesn't help. Okay, so these are daytime shots. We're happy with the colors, we're happy with the level of detail, and we're even happy with the selfies. But when it comes to the macros, you should be patient and wait till you get a proper scenario. Now, now we get to the lower light shots, and I have to say the night mode is a lifesaver. So when it comes to the sunset scenario, things are fine. The street light halos are a bit big, but I've seen bigger before. I like the color calibration here actually. This bush, this yellow bush, is almost as well rendered at night as it was during the day. Once again, selfie is a bit underwhelming, and this camera is pretty light hungry. It will capture a lot of light at nighttime. There are some odd reflections and elongated halos here and there, but in general the clarity is spot on. Of course the quality drops a lot on ultra-wide, so regular shot, quite okay. Ultra-wide shot, not so okay. You're losing a lot of details, both in the center and on the sides. A test of zoom, which is definitely nothing to write home about. A darker area, where you can definitely feel the difference between the lack of night mode and night mode being applied. Even more scenarios here. And let's see some other areas. In well-lit parts, some of them are day-like shots, color-wise and clarity-wise, but there's some ghosting here and there if you're capturing moving subjects, so beware. And even more nighttime shots, which is exactly what I mentioned before. If there are moving subjects, they'll be prone to ghosting, and the street lights are a bit big, particularly when zooming in or using the ultra-wide. Stick to the main camera, stick to the night mode, and you should deliver some pretty decent results. I wouldn't go as far as to say that the results have improved from last year though. Okay, so we have 18 videos. Let's also talk about the clips. So we go here and go to videos, and let's see how we did. Obviously, the first test is the stabilization one. It's this one. It's 4K. It's going on a bridge, crossing it, and it's not half bad. It's optical image stabilization. The image remains pretty crisp and clear. Now, this is a vlogging phone like the entire Galaxy A series, and this is one of the images you'll be getting. Not bad focus, but pretty strange way of displaying it. Let's actually also see this one here. For a beginner or medium level blogger, I would say they're fine. There's plenty of detail here, but in this one the stabilization feels lacking compared to the previous one. It feels like it's jumping too much between the frames of the filming. But colors, details, and even the focus are quite fine. Okay, now let's find other scenarios. The colors are just as good as they were on the photo. No oversaturation. It's a pretty realistic set of colors. Actually reminds me of the iPhone 16e, although they're a bit more vivid than on the iPhone 16e. Okay, and we also should have a focus test here somewhere. This one. Quite snappy, alternative between the foreground and the background. Once again though, maybe except for some clarity details, not a huge jump from last year. And these are the low light samples with obvious limitations. Shaky capture, lots of noise. The light sources are amplified way too much, so nothing to write home about when it comes to the low light video capture, and some reflections here and there. Definitely feels limited, and maybe even below what rivals like Oppo or Realme are offering right now. Okay, we're done with the camera. Let's talk connectivity. So this phone has basically almost everything. So it does have USB-C, but only 2.0 at the bottom side. We have Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 6 dual band, NFC, and of course 5G. When it comes to localization, GPS, Galileo, GLONASS, BDS, and QZSS, there's no infrared, there's no audio jack, there's no ultra wideband. The calls were pretty loud and clear, and actually I'm curious to see what speed test showed us result-wise. Okay, so these are the results we achieved on 5G. When it comes to the maximum download speed, it's 226 megapsecond in download and 108 megapsecond in upload. I would say it's decent because it was a marginal area of the town, so I expected a bit better, and I'm sure you can achieve at least 500 in the central parts of the town. On Wi-Fi, you can easily go past 300 megapsecond in download and upload. You also have Android Auto, linked to Windows, and several other options. Now, when it comes to the software, we're running here on One UI 7.0, applied on top of Android 15 with no less than 6 years of Android updates, which is pretty cool. The leftmost home screen delivers the news. Here we have the new transparent and well-spaced quick settings area with SmartThings handy. Here we have the notifications. And of course, you can also customize the experience with themes, wallpaper, styles, and widgets. Good looking widgets, by the way. Of course, there's also a lot of AI. So for example, if I keep pressing this button here, I can trigger the circle to search. I can look up this icon here, find out about it on Google. But circle to search is also helpful if you want to recognize a song or translate what's on the screen. Gemini is available part of the package here as well. It can help you with your projects. It can help you plan a trip. It can answer questions. It can generate images, what have you. Aside from that, there is also this sidebar here, which can trigger the notes, internet, clock, calendar, where you can change this. There's also AI Select. AI Select works, I would say, pretty similar to what we had with the circle to search. You can actually pin stuff, share stuff, download stuff, and copy paste stuff to clipboard and more. You can actually also translate what's on the screen. That's AI Select. Now, of course, a big chunk of AI is available when you're editing photos. So if I go to a photo here, like this one, for example, I press the AI button and it's finding things to improve, remaster, object eraser. Each photo will be analyzed in a different way, and different objects will be, I would say, options will be found and suggested to you. This one is analyzed. You can do a 24-hour time-lapse, remaster, object eraser. So if you select object eraser, you can start erasing objects from the frame. You can also have suggestions, and you can also delete people if they're in your way. So if I want to delete this object, it highlighted it, I can press erase, it will apply a mask behind it, and that's that. There are also suggestions for filters. You can see here without or with this little object, and it did a quite fine job in erasing it. As I said before, you can find the personalized filters and editing suggestions available as well. What I showed you before, it was just the series of suggestions. I can actually press here and have my own options available. You can draw stuff, you can have text, you can have object eraser, spot color, color mix, and style. Now, the phone itself has quite a few options in the settings area related to connectivity, interconnected device, Android Auto. You can predefine modes and routines to automate your life and your device settings and functions. You can mess around with the battery, have battery protection, power saving, use limits. You have wallpaper and style, themes, always on display. And for security, we have a fingerprint scanner of the optical variety, which is quite fast. Security and privacy, of course, with a special auto blocker available here, lost device protection. Auto blocker keeps you safe by blocking threats and suspicious activity, including things connected via USB-C, strange messages, and yeah. And of course, experimental features. You got Bixby, you got labs, side button features, and intelligent features like object eraser, edit suggestions, custom filters. You can create your very own filters for your photos. You just tap the button to the left of the filter list in the camera, and you should be able to do that. So if you're here and you're looking for filters, which is this one here, you can press plus and can create your very own filter, selecting a certain picture. Now, Galaxy A56 has some extras compared to this model. Those who use it have the best face as an extra, auto trim, and instant slow-mo. Now, the pre-installed apps here are Spotify, Netflix. As you can see, there's a pretty snappy calculator with new features like they got on iOS. We got Samsung members, we got the Galaxy Store, which does have some exclusives here and there when it comes to games and apps. Here you have the pre-installed app, Samsung Shop, SmartThings, voice recorder, internet, health, find, and so more. By the way, internet is able to also have some AI tricks up its sleeve. You can read aloud websites. So yeah, that's pretty cool. TikTok is also pre-installed and a bunch of other apps. And finally, the gaming hub holds our games and has dedicated settings for them, and playtimes and recommendations of games. Okay, I think it's time to talk about the verdict. So first of all, the pros and cons. Now, on the pro side, you get a larger screen, which is bright and excellent for multimedia consumption. You're also getting excellent selfies, a night mode which does its job, a pretty good stabilization, and pretty solid battery life, and also 6 years of Android support updates. Those are the pros. On the cons, I would say the upgrades for the camera are minimal. We still have a plastic frame, we still have large bezels, and the video capture in low light was particularly disappointing. I would also have to say I expected more than 6 gigs of RAM for the basic version. At the end of the day, Galaxy A36 is a cheaper alternative to the A56. I would honestly go all the way and buy the A56 because the price difference has become minimal. You do get a Snapdragon processor as a plus, and you're also getting plenty of updates, but at the end of the day you have to wonder if the cameras here will be still good 2 years from now. That's the only thing you should be asking yourself. Aside from that, the battery, the screen, and even the selfie camera and video capture are fine, except for the low light. So at the end of the day, this one, or maybe go back to the predecessor A35 or even the A55, which has a similar price. The answer is in the processor usually. That's it from us. This has been the review of the Galaxy A36. Goodbye.